lays it up and in. Anthony Johnson.
First shot of the game for the College of Charleston. And Willis Hall. 6 seconds. 5 seconds. Drew right side. High arcing three for the tie. Good! With 2.1 to go.
Billy drives straight to the basket. Layup. And good! Overtime!
Welcome to another edition of Hang Time with the Cougars, where we catch up with some of the CFC basketball greats. Of course, we started this series hearing from Anthony Johnson and Andrew Godlock. In our last episode, we were fortunate enough to catch up with Willis Hall and Cam Johnson, and today we are actually going to the current NBA because joining us is current Charlotte Hornet point guard, being the captain, Joe Chealy, and, of course, the power forward, swing man, you name it, he can do it, of the Utah Jazz, our good friend, Jarrell Brantley. Guys, welcome to Hang Time with the Cougars.
Appreciate it.
All right.
How's it going? What's up, B?
All right, Joe Chealy in the house, and also JB, and we got Coach Grant, the head coach of the Cougars. And, Coach, let's say 10 years from now, there's going to be a 30 for 30 on the resurgence of College of Charleston basketball, being the top, mid-major in the country, and it's all going to go back to the recruiting class where you brought Jarrell Brantley to go along with some holdovers from the previous staff. When you look at these two guys, Coach, Joe Chealy and Jarrell Brantley, tell us, what do these two individuals mean to the current Charleston basketball program?
I mean, I think personally, I thank God for them guys because, this special guys, just unbelievable players, but more importantly, what you start to discover, as you do this long enough, man, it's about the character of the kid, and it's about, just how hard guys work. So just very fortunate to have had the opportunity to coach both. Certainly you said Joe Chealy, when I got the job, he was there, and he was a young guy in the program already. And so when I inherited him, and he was very loyal and stayed put and really was focused on trying to help that program grow and develop. And then Jarrell Brantley, I mean, obviously Big JB, just, unbelievable how his stuff unfolded, who was a journeyman who I learned a lot about his story when I started to see that he would move to Maryland to play at Montrose Christian and go up to Massachusetts for Notre Dame Prep. He just kind of was a guy searching to be a great player. He was hungry. He was searching. And so having those two in the program, man, it's just been a godsend, for me as a young coach. I guess I'm getting older now, going into year 7, but as a young coach, man, it's having them guys, so dedicated and loyal to being good players. And it was contagious to our program. And we miss those guys. And we talk about in recruiting, continue to try to find that right guy that's got a chip on his shoulder, that's underappreciated, and that's a good guy. So, those two right here, I'll never forget. And, they're going to have special careers.
Before we get to you guys, you are now in terms of the NBA. I want to talk about your time at Charleston. And, Jill, I'm going to start with you. I remember when the staff was talking about, we had this kid coming from Orlando, probably by far the most mature 18-year-old I think I've ever met. I think that's the words that Amir used. And you did not disappoint. You came in instantly and kind of had this poise to you. Just kind of talk about your time early on in Charleston and just your growth into being really where you are today, and just the uphill climb that you had in your 5 years here in Charleston.
Yeah, well, so for me, I think the biggest thing from Charleston, my takeaway is that it became a second home for me, right? Like it kind of helped mold me into the man I am today. And I guess that's the hope when you go to a school. And I'll be honest, I didn't think it would have, going into it, I didn't think it would have the impact that it did. I go back now as much as I can. I try to be around the program because it means so much to me. And I'm just super thankful for everybody that made that experience what it was for me. And I can honestly say Charleston is my second home.
JB, talk about your experience, because I'm not so sure, JB, that a lot of people know you actually started here in the state of South Carolina pretty, low maintenance, wasn't a big name, and had a really different journey to Charleston. Talk about your journey to Charleston and being a member of the Cougars.
Yeah, no, Charleston is special, and like Joe said, it allowed me to become the man I am today. But for Charleston, it was more so coming back home and being able to be close to family. Be able to put that maroon on, man, meant a lot to me. Every day I walked into that gym, I knew it was a blessing. So that was special for me. And then the rest was history. We got guys like Joe and Cam, and I got to look to, and still with my own grit and my own chip on my shoulder. Putting it all together was special, and we were able to do really good things there.
Jill, when you look back at your career at Charleston, almost kind of in a roundabout way, you think that maybe the injury was a blessing in disguise? Because that year it seemed like you were already at a pretty high level, but having an opportunity to kind of sit, watch, kind of renew that hunger, and then to come back the way that you were. When you look back at that injury, what impact did that have on you in terms of your college career in Charleston?
I think Coach kind of says a lot like God works in mysterious ways, right? And I think what the injury did for me, aside from like the basketball part of it, like getting a chance to watch it from the sideline and really learn the game, I think it gave me a chance to develop my relationship with the guys on the team even more. I think up until that point, I was so consumed with like my own journey and making myself better as a player. Sitting out that whole year, it forced me to kind of focus on things outside of basketball. And what I've learned, and I think that's really when it started, that like I became best friends with the guys on the team. And those relationships, man, they last to this day. And I'm so appreciative for it. So while it was unfortunate at the time, I wanted to play. It gave me a chance to spend some more time with the guys and connect on a level that I probably otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to do. So I think that was the biggest takeaway from it.
Joe, I want to ask you about the brotherhood. It's appears, and we talked to Cam, like I said, in the last episode, and, I kind of talked always about the big three, that being, you, JB, Joe, and Grant, but also the role players, like a Cam Johnson and a Marquise Pointer and an Evan Bailey and a Nick Harris. Jarrell, talk about just how tight you guys were, because I don't think a lot of people realize that when we say brotherhood, that bunch that you guys had together, you were about as close as I think I've ever seen when it comes to a basketball team.
Yeah, man. That was definitely a blessing. I don't know if I'll ever find guys, like that ever again in my life playing this game. Like you say, we talk about Grant, me, and Joe. But when you talk about Marquise Pointer, Evan Bailey, for me, Evan is so special and will always be special in my heart because in a sense he came in and I kind of took his spot and he allowed me to while pushing me, while molding me and, giving me those nuggets to become better and, never, being hating me in a sense, and so that was special for me. And then off the court, I think that drove us to be as good as we were on the court. We really trusted each other. We could battle, and practice and, call each other everything under the sun and fight. And then as soon as it was over, we could go get, dinner together. And I think that's special. I don't know if we'll ever be able to do that. I'll ever be able to do that with another team, but, and those are still my brothers to this day. I can call them and, lean on them for anything. So, Charleston was special, man. And I can go on about it.
All right, so Joel, we want to know.
He left out Cam, and he didn't mean to do that on purpose. He talked.
Yeah, man, it's too many guys to talk about, man.
He didn't mean to do that on purpose.
Us all together, man. I can go on about Cam. So I
talked to Cam yesterday.
Cam was our enforcer. Our enforcer.
And people don't know how many games me and Cam fought. Like in the middle of games, had arguments of like, you do this, you do that. But at the end of the day, man, we would go to war for each other. And he was, a big brother in a sense. So I don't think he would let anybody talk crazy to me and vice versa. But, so me and Cam got a different kind of bond. So I ain't mean to skip him.
Joel, how tough was that Coach Grant's first, he comes in, gets the job late. He's got to get buy-in from you guys. And you have that first year where you didn't even win 10 games. What was it about Coach, the attitude, the atmosphere around the program that made you think that, hey, you know what, we're going to be all right, and if we hang in there, we got a chance to be special in the future?
Yeah, well, for me, I think Coach kind of won me over the first day I met him. I didn't know anything about Coach, but he got the job, I want to say in September. And once he found out he got the job, he was obviously an assistant at Clemson, and we heard, like, we did our research and all that kind of stuff. But he drove. It was late at night. We found out we had a meeting. We all, the people who were there at the time, the guys on the team, met in the locker room, and Coach told us, man, he's not here by accident. And God, like he said, I mean, he works in mysterious ways. And I just knew, for me personally, like, I could sense, like, how genuine and how much he cared, and like how he was about the right stuff. And he talked about, like, working and establishing that culture, man, and that was right up my alley. So I knew from the jump, from the first day I met him, like I said, that I was going to rock with him till the wheels fell off. And that whole season obviously was tough. A lot of things played a part in that. You're talking about getting the job, not having a summer to work out with the team, and not to mention that the schedule that year was crazy. I mean, we was playing crazy teams, man. West Virginia, UConn, the list goes, Miami. It was crazy that first year, right? And even throughout all of that, I mean, we had a tough year, but my confidence in him, like, never wavered, because he always reiterated the same thing he told us from day one, and that we was going to work. And we knew at the end of the season, he said, I remember we lost in the first round to UNCW, right? And he told the seniors, he thanked them like he's supposed to do. And he told us, like, if everybody else returning, we will get to work. And from that day forward, I mean, we hit the ground running. And we had a class that came in with Terrell and Keese and Grant and those guys, man. And it was just, to answer your question, I never second guessed, like, anything going through that tough season. I knew, because I trusted him as a leader. And so that meant a lot.
You know, Jarrell, everybody who knows your personality, very easygoing, and that kind of, you know, everything's going to be all right. So you come to Charleston, your first year, they're coming off of the not so good season, but it just seemed like as soon as you stepped foot on campus, you just kind of brought a renewed energy, or just a different type of vibe, you know, to the squad. What was that first year like, in just in terms of you being determined not to have a repeat of what had happened the previous year at Charleston?
And I think it was a mix, man. I think it was a part of my chip on my shoulder, but it goes to, you know, a lot of those guys and Coach Grant and the staff. I think, you know, that was maybe the first time completely in every aspect of who I am that, you know, I had so many people, like, just allow me to be me. You know how you say my personality. I think everybody knows that I can be a lot at times. And this was the first, you know, group and core that just was, like, completely, like, allowed me to be who I was on the court and off. And I thrived, you know, and with that, I came in and it was not easy for me. You know, I remember the days we had to do a run. We had to do conditioning, and we ran to the Battery, and Coach Grant led it. He led the run. And Joe, you know, he's an old finesser, you know, he's trying to find a way out of the situation. So Coach Grant and you know, all the guys, Cam and Marquise, are at the front of the line. They're done running, and Joe using me, and I'm at the back. Joe using me. It's okay. You know, basically he basically walking. He acting like a leader, but he basically walking, trying to keep me up to pace. So I mean, when you think about times like that, man, they just, you know, was there for me, and it was special.
Coach, and Jarrell just kind of hit it right on the head. As the head coach, how hard is it to, when you have a dynamic talent like Jarrell, to kind of balance, be able to coach him, but in the same breath, you have someone like a Joe Chile who's not as, you know, flamboyant, but just kind of gets the job done. Talk about just the days of you having to balance out those two and being able to coach when you have such different personalities.
I mean, I thought it was a great mix because, you know, that first year coaching Joe, certainly I knew he was going to be a special player. I knew he was going to be a great leader, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, at times I would be like, man, Joe's too serious, man. I got to get him to laugh. I mean, he worried about something, man. He ain't smiling. Like, I need to see him, you know, just have a little more fun and have a little more joy in the game. He was so serious. They call him Uncle Joe. And everything – so I remember watching video after games and somebody will be at the free throw line shooting, and then you see Joe behind that guy, because, you kind of stand behind and get ready as a point guard. And I would look at his face and I said, I need him to smile more. And I think his seriousness and his ability to be so stoic and be a great leader mixed with his basketball IQ, he was like another coach on the floor for me. But then Jarrell, going into that recruiting class, I told the staff, man, let's just find spirit. Let's just find some life. Let's just find some, guys that can complement who we already have. I said, I want more laughing. I want more smiling. I want a guy that, can cut up a little bit. And so we really was looking for enthusiasm and spirit. And I'll tell the staff, I want a guy to hit the floor, do a push-up, stick his tongue out, pump your fist. I mean, like, life. And so I remember going to see Jarrell up in Massachusetts. They were playing against a team called Northfield Mount Hermon. And the game really not going Notre Dame's way. I mean, in Jarrell, he was playing the 5. And they told me to go compare him and another kid that ended up going to Stephen F. Austin. I think his name was TJ. I can't remember. It's Holyfield. And so compare these two guys. We need a 4-man. Compare these two. So I go watch. And the thing that I remember about Jarrell, I'll never forget. His team was down maybe 20 points. And he's already hit the floor 3 or 4 times, trying to go for loose balls, taking a charge. They played him at the 5. He wasn't on the perimeter. But when he came out of the game one time, they were down 20, and it was so genuine. He went down and dapped everybody on the – he loved to dap now. Sometimes he pissed me off with dapping. I'll get mad at him, and then he come by me and hold his hand out and want to give a dap. And I have to dap him. But what I'm saying is went down the bench, dapped everybody up, got to the end of the bench, and they down 20, and he just started clapping. Hey, come on, the game's still going. Let's play. And so I just fell in love with his spirit. And, I knew he was big and physical, and I knew we developed, because I had two assistant coaches. Both of those guys have done well now. Milan Brown's at Pittsburgh, Quentin Farrell's at Presbyterian. I knew what I had. So I knew as a point guard coach for Joe, which I'm very selfish when it comes to point guards. I want to do everything, but I knew Coach Q, I could turn it over. And then Milan Brown, I hired him, and I told him, I got a couple bigs for you. That's your baby. Take care of that. And them guys did a brilliant, magnificent job and really gave me my opportunity to go out and do some other things, fundraise and do some things so we can travel the way we need to travel. So it was a great mix of talented players and then special position coaches. And as an assistant for 15 years, I knew how critical that position coach was. And, I couldn't find a better duo to kind of take Joe Cheeley and Jarrell Brantley under their wings.
Guys, when you look back to that 2018 season, a very special season, I think a lot of Cougar Nation, when years to come, just don't realize how blessed and fortunate we were to have all 3 of you guys, on the floor at the same time. My question was, how hard was, and I'll ask both of you, and Jarrell, we'll start up with you first. How hard was it for you guys to literally sacrifice your game for the betterment of the team? Because let's face it, Joe could go off for 30. Jarrell, you could go off for 30. Grant could go off for 30. But you all had to sacrifice your game to make this work. How hard was that for you that season?
I think it goes back to our chemistry and our family. I'm still trying to dissect everything that went on, throughout that time, because there was so many people who gave up. Keith had just, played a really good freshman year and then had to come back with Joe being hurt. Cam had played really well, and then came back to passing. And he would go games without shooting. And then, like I talk about Evan, and we got Nick. We have so many people that, sacrifice. But I think when you look at, what goes on, I give a lot of credit to Joe. He had me and Grant, and he knew what we were capable of. So Joe had this thing where he would make sure me and Grant got our average, and then at the end of the game, only thing he did was made sure he had the free throws. And I used to get mad at him. But now, looking back at it, I understand what he was doing, man. He was making sure that, I think that year allowed me, I was, as much as we talk about my personality, how much fun I had, but if I didn't get the ball in 4 possessions, I was snapping. But when I was with Joe, it could be the 3rd possession, and we calling a play for me because he wouldn't allow me to get upset just because of, Coach Grant's talking about the point guard aspect of him. And, we all used to clown. The coaches used to clown. I think Joe's like the Professor X and I'm like the Wolverine. You know, like he's always calm and I'm like the one so, you know, explosive and always wanting to snap. And I think when you think about guys like that, I think that's what makes our team special. We knew what we had, and we had Joe to be able to get Grant his points, you know, get me my points, still make sure that Cam felt engaged, and then he steal the free throws at the end of the game.
Joe, your thoughts about that season? Because he's right. I mean, you were the coach on the floor. You had the ball in your hand the majority of the times, but it seemed like you kind of, let everybody get theirs. But come closing time, it was always you with the pump fake, which to this day I still don't understand how you got fouled on at least 20 3-point attempts. Pump fake, get them up in the air, jump into them, and every time a veteran move. But just your thoughts about
R.I.P. Kobe.
18 season.
Yeah, you said it initially, talk about the three of us being able to get 30. I think it was probably more consistent. I could probably get 20. Burrell could get like 25 to 30, and Grant could go get 35, honestly, just on that breakdown. But I think honestly, man, like I think Burrell talked about it. The type of guys we had made it easy to coexist because, like you said, guys sacrificed. Guys were talented. We talked about Cam and Marquise specifically. Talked about Evan and Nick. Like I think that was the culture by the time that season came around. And I think that played in part to why we were able to win a championship. And I think it was kind of easy, like at times, because if you're concerned about winning, that's what you have to do. Honestly, you have to sacrifice. And I think the thing that we can't overstate is just how much guys cared about each other, man. We just wanted each other to succeed. Yeah. As competitive as we were off the court, like on the court, and how much we wanted to succeed individually, like it always warmed my heart a little bit to see everybody else kind of succeed and get theirs. And that, I think that continues to this day with all the guys, man. Like anytime somebody has something cool going on, like we're all kind of championing it. Like, Evan's in med school right now. Cam you talked with him last week, with the Spurs. Keith is big into photography. Nick is in law school, I think. I could go down the list of guys. Like, we're going to have to name everybody on this team too, because I don't want to leave everybody off at the end of it. Make sure we address everybody on this call before this call is over. But like I said, man, it was easy. Those guys made it easy to coexist.
So you think about the journey back to, I guess, Jarrell, your freshman year, and fast forward to 2018, and the two games that I want to talk about. The first one is the Elon game at home. You guys clinched the title. Talk about the emotion of that night, because you knew where you had come from just 2 or 3 years before that.
Obviously, Jarrell was very emotional in that, but go ahead, Jarrell.
Yeah, man, that game was fun, man. But I was struggling. I think, and when you talk about the emotion, I think that was a big game for me, and I knew it. So, I was trying my hardest to play well, and things just couldn't go my way. And it was senior night. I think Evan started over me, so I was trying to come off the bench still, playing well. I might be wrong. But, and I ended up getting 2 texts, got ejected out the game. But I think it was just the emotion of understanding how much we worked. I think when you think about that journey, and the 2 games we're talking about, Northeastern and Elon, those 2 games talk about our journey. We dealt with injury. Joe and Grant got injured early, and then I got injured at the beginning of that year. So everybody, was dealing with their own things. And I think that's what shows our team, how we just can't always continue to come back out of situations that we probably weren't supposed to be in, and I think that's special. We trusted each other when I went down, guys were scared for a little bit. And then after that, it was like, all right, we got to pick them up. And then guys went and played well. Guys, we got the opportunity for Jalen to step up and play big minutes. And those things, Jalen, towards the end of the tournament when we was playing, Jalen started making big shots. And I think those are the things that we look back at like, wow, man, it was everybody did their role. And as much as it might have been frustrating at the time, it was special. And I couldn't dream of making that up any better way than what happened. And I think that's the beauty in all of it.
What about you, Joe? Because, again, you suffered through the coach's first year. Jarrell didn't. So to think of where you guys had come from to be at that point. On top of that, let's not forget all of the frustrating championship performances and coming up short against UNCW. Thoughts about that Elon game?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, like you kind of talked about it yourself, like it was just the culmination of like the whole journey. For me, going back to freshman year, but specifically when Coach got there in the tough season and being literally at the bottom of the league to like putting in the work each summer and having new guys and trying to build something to getting to the biggest stage and getting to the conference championship my junior year, my redshirt junior year, and losing to UNCW. So you feel like you come all this way. Now you got to go back to the drawing board and try to do it again. When we won, man, it's a picture, man, of me and Cam. Like that coach talked about wanting to see me smile more. Like I don't think I smiled more than I did that game, man, because it was talking about the last time we played in Charleston and just in front of or in TD Arena, and just the emotion that came with it, man. I think like I was screaming to the crowd. I was yelling. Like it's a picture, man, that I got to get to that I just love, and it just a culmination of all the efforts of everybody that had a part to play in the process. So. It was emotional. I cried a little bit. Cam was booing me, right? I think I cried more the next game, but it was really emotional, man. I'm just super thankful for it.
So, Coach, a tough regular season 2018. You were the number 1 seed. The year before, we lose at the North Charleston Coliseum in the CAA championship game. Pressure is back on us again. You're back at the North Charleston Coliseum, and it's title night. Northeastern Charleston. Coach, what an emotional ride. Before we talk about arguably the greatest 16 minutes in college of Charleston basketball history, what happened early on, Coach, that kind of got us in that hole that forced the guys to really rally around and come back with that historic win?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it was a lot of destiny in that, and both Jarrell and Joe kind of alluded to it, that just a culmination of the different experiences we had over the 2 or 3 years, whether it be injuries or, losing some games, tough games, finding a way to win close games, different guys stepping up, the Cam and the Marquise Pointer stepping up when Joe was out for a year or Grant was out for a year, the Jalen McManus stepping up when Jarrell missed 10 games, but there was so much into that year. We traveled to Alaska. Jarrell didn't go. We went to Ireland. It was like it was destined that we were to be back in that championship game. And I had so much faith, and there was so much things going on in my spirit that, we getting back to the game and we're going to win. I mean, I just had a feeling that it was going to happen. And, my faith never wavered in that game. I mean, certainly we were playing against a great team, a really good coach and a well-coached team and teams group of guys who can make shots. So they had a couple players that just really made big, tough shots. And I think we were so excited of being in the moment. I think we didn't necessarily go out in the first half and completely trust our plan of what we needed to try to do to win the game. And they were making shots. And so, again, I think it was destiny because we got to the halftime. I think we were down 13. We had a great game plan coming out of the locker room, and then there you go, we down 17 now, But I think we reverted back to everything we had been through in the last 12 minutes. And so we really got tough. When the tough got going, man, we got tougher. And we started picking up full court, and guys really started trusting each other. And it just was beautiful, man. It was kind of a beautiful struggle. Like I said, I just think it was destiny, man, and I thank God every day for allowing us to experience that because we got to a point where the program hadn't seen in some years, and now we're going through that process again. How do you climb back up that hill? So it's interesting, going through that with this group, and then now you feel like you're trying to figure out how do you climb back up that hill. But the one thing that jumps out to me is it's the players. It is the players, man, and it's the right kind of guys, that character, that toughness. I got 2 guys on the screen right now, Joe and Jarrell. You talk about junkyard dogs, but gym rats. And you don't really never get a junkyard dog and a gym rat mixed in one. And so they were always in the gym. I come in the office, and if it wasn't Jarrell in the gym, with his position, with Coach Brown, it would be Q in the gym, Coach Q with Joe. And I mean, it was like clockwork. They were going to spend the time. And so it ain't no secret why they are where they are right now, that their future going to really be bright these next 10 years because they put in the work. And it's the players that get it done.
Yeah, I always had Coach had respect for obviously JB and Joe, but Joe really got my respect. And I don't know, Joe, even you remember this. I think you were in somewhat of a shooting slump. And, Coach, we were in Williamsburg getting ready to play William and Mary. It must have been like a 2 o'clock tip because for some reason we didn't have shoot around on that day. I had to go to like the pharmacy to get more batteries for the quarter. And as I'm coming back, I see Joe getting in a car. I'm like, Joe, where you going? He was taking an Uber to go get shots up because he was in that shooting slump. And right then I'm like, this guy's just – Joe, you remember that story?
I do. I think, yeah, I remember. Part of that, too, part of that was playing at William and Mary, wanting to beat them. And I remember being in the shooting slump. Senior year specifically, Coach had to talk to me because just thinking too much and being too serious at times. And my way of dealing with that is trying to attack it head on when a lot of times I probably should have taken a step away from it. And I think, like, this is off topic, but that's what a lot of the guys on the team did for me, man. They kept things in perspective for me. But I do remember that, yeah.
Needless to say, you had a pretty good game, so it must have worked, obviously, because you didn't have really that many bad games. But going back to Northeastern, all right, so Jarrell, like, at what point in the second half, like Coach said, we were down by 17, was there a shot? Was there a moment? Was there a defensive stop that you thought, you know what, we're going to do this. Somehow, some way, we're going to figure that out?
I mean, so I think throughout that whole season, me and Joe always talk about it. And if you look at that team, like, we were really good, but we never won over 10. You know, like, we always won within 6 or, like, some off free throws. And so I think it was like, you know, we always had confidence in each other. Like, no matter if we was down, I think it was always a time in the game where we look at each other and you see the other team screaming, and we'll look at each other and laugh like, we about to beat them. You know, we're losing. Like, it happened a lot. And in that game, it had multiple times, I think, where I felt like, okay, it's about to turn the corner, and they would make a big shot, you know. And I don't know when, but I know there was a moment in the game where we completely went like locked in. Nobody was smiling, nobody was making facial expressions. I went to straight being a bully, you know, and coach, you know, always wanted me to be a bully, and I want to shoot a 3 or I want to, you know, do something. I was straight trying to rebound. And Joe went into this, you know, Mamba mentality, you know, and he was hurt, and he still, you know, found ways. Cam locked in. You think about Marquise Pointer, who I just got chills thinking about what Keith did. You know, like, what Keith did in that game is like, it was like so special to see because he had such a bumpy career, you know, and it was nothing he could do about it. And that game showed just what he was built for. And you just think about so many guys, man, and we just all put it together, and we just locked in, and something special happened. I don't know, man. It's too many things to talk about. It's too many things.
And you'll appreciate this one, Joe. So my boss is watching the game. She doesn't watch basketball, doesn't know sports. The next day, out of all, as great as the game was, the one thing she said is she started crying at the end during what I now call the embrace. You, Coach, midcourt, a moment that I think every Cougar fan that's got the game taped or when you pull it up on YouTube, you talked about the emotions at Elon, but I can't imagine, Joe, what that embrace felt like, because you're right. You finally had gotten to the top of the hill.
Yeah, I think for me that was personally what was going through my head. Obviously, we talked about the culmination of like the whole journey, and it felt heavy. It felt like a burden that kind of been lifted off your shoulders. You're just so elated. But for me, man, that was like the first time, like in that game, that I had snapped back out of like whatever mode I was in, like throughout the whole game. I think I was so caught up in like the game and
losing
and just trying to figure out like how we was going to figure it out. Like, I think I watched the game once, man. I wasn't really conscious of like, I knew the time to score. I was keeping up with it and stuff, but like I kind of lost myself in the moment of just playing. And that, like, when it happened, I was at midcourt. I got subbed out, and I was going back to sub back in, and I was still like in that zone of like, all right, there's still time on the clock. And then when it finally hit 0, it kind of like just clicked. I'm like, yo, like, we just won a championship, and this is what we dreamed about. So it was just – now for me personally, like, Coach Grant was walking toward me, he had his arms reached, and it was just like perfect timing, man. Because it was so many emotions flowing through me, and it just him being there, like I don't know what I would have did if he wasn't there, man. Because it was just emotions flowing out of me, man, and it was just I think I get chills. Real was talking about getting chills. I get chills thinking about it. It was a special moment for sure, and I'm super appreciative, man.
Yeah, definitely a moment that all Cougar fans will never forget. Jarrell, what's your favorite moment? Your 4 years at Charleston, is there one game, one moment that really just sticks out to you that's your favorite as a Cougar?
Man, you know, a game I think I think just personally, I think we played Northeastern at Northeastern one year. I think it was that year. And me, Joe, and Grant had I had probably 23. Joe had 28, and Grant had 25. And I think that was one of them times where you're just wow, you know, who are you playing beside? You know, when I'm working so hard to be successful, and you see the other two dudes beside you just as special, you just man, I don't know, you know, that's when I think I kind of stop worrying about myself, and just so many times I got to just be in awe of Grant or be in awe of Joe. But for us to I think we always wanted to all kill. But if you look at the games, it was certain games Joe and Grant would have 20 plus, and then I would have 10 or 12. We never always put it together. And I think that was one game where I'm wow, we're about to do something special. And I think that was you know, that was one of the games I think about, because, you know, you could think about LSU or just to win the big time games or Northeastern, but that was one of the times I got to sit and embrace how special we were.
For me, JB, I'm trying to decide between hitting the game-winning shot, the three from the corner was one.
Yeah, Coastal, yeah.
Yeah, Coastal.
And that was a big game for me. That was a big game for me too, because that Coastal was the first team, second team I played after injury. And Cumberland, the four-man, kicked my behind. I couldn't move. We was at Coastal. I thought I was gonna be sorry for the rest of the year. So when I seen Coastal on the schedule the next year, I knew mentally I'm not about to have a bad game, you know. And for me to hit the big shot, that was super special for me, because it was a breakthrough, my own mental breakthrough that I don't even think I really told too many people. But for me, it was okay, you're capable, you're built for it.
Well, between that one and also, I think it was JB's first CAA game at William & Mary when he had 30.
Oh, JMU. I had 29. I went 13
there.
for 14.
Yeah, Coach, he's not checking the stat sheet at all, Coach.
No, but that one because Coach Brown always tells me I shot one bad shot, and he was why would you shoot this if you're 13 for 13? That's just the kind of players we were.
Now, I do think, I think we leave out, I don't know what year it was, but I think Davidson at home, was a really good win. I thought we played really good basketball. We had played them the year before, came up short. I think Joe may have sat out that year before at Davidson, but playing them at home is when I realized, because I remember they took us to the woodshed one time we played them. And then I felt like they were so much in better shape than us. They were executing better than us. They were sharing the ball better. And that was frustrating. And so coming back to playing them at home and us just playing a brilliant game and playing really smart and playing together and tough, that was a moment for me where I said, you know what, we may have something special right here.
Oh, yeah, and at VCU. When me and Grant went to VCU. We went to VCU my senior year. I think that was one because we did it without Joe in a sense. And so that was one that was special for me too.
Yeah, I think I remember the fans behind me saying that you were by far the best player on the floor that day. And the only other time I think I heard that was, Coach, you remember the second half at Siena? I think JB, you played 2 minutes in the first half of foul trouble, and I don't think you missed in the second half. One shot, JB, you literally
he was. Hey, let me tell you, he was notorious for making up for lost time. See,
if I got a foul trouble in the first half,
he was making up for lost time.
Chili, I don't know if you saw this game, but this man, I swear I knew he was on. I'm not lying, Joe. This man took a turnaround fadeaway three-pointer from the corner nothing but the bottom of the net. I'm like, yeah, he's in the zone, JB, because he could not. I mean, Joe, he could not miss that night. So
I was tuned in, man. It's hard. It was hard. I tell people it was harder the next year after I left because I kept up just as much. And like when you can't influence it yourself, man, it's almost like I can understand parents how they get so like consumed with watching their kids play, or like you're invested into like your brothers and stuff. It's just because you want them to do so well. So that next year, man, it was tough, man. I was in Greensboro or Charlotte, anytime we played, if I had a chance, I was tuned in. And I remember that Siena game. I remember the VCU game. I remember every game after I left, to be honest with you.
Now let's talk about tough. Cap, I coined that you were the closer. I mean, as JB talked about, it was mostly getting to the free throw line, but there were some big shots, some big moments for you. For you, what are some of your top moments as a Cougar?
Let me say mine. My favorite Joe Chile game. Towson. Oh, my goodness. He won us the Towson playoff. The playoff game. Oh, my. It was a movie. I never seen nothing like that. And Towson and Northeastern. What he did at Northeastern, man, for the championship.
Well, at Wilmington for him was good. At Wilmington was really good for him 1 year.
Yeah, man. My bad. I just had to say it, bro.
No, you're good. I'm trying to give me time to think. I think those were like Towson was a fun one. It was kind of tainted because I just knew we was going to win the next game. Like it felt like we were supposed to win the next game. Coach said Davidson. We came back. We were down against Davidson at home, and I think I hit a shot. But you talking about favorite moment as a Cougar? I'll take it off the court. For me, and me and JB talk about this. I think he said this before too. We were in Ireland, right? And we had played our games. I think it was one of like the last days, and we had some free time. And literally everybody on that trip, like the last 2 days, we were just out walking after we had got something to eat. And we were I can't even remember where we were at in Ireland. We didn't have coaches. We were in a different country, right? But it was like 10 of us walking. And I think there's a video of it on Twitter. And we were just having the best time, man. And that was like, if I had to pick a moment that I remember, we just had so much fun, and it didn't have anything to do with basketball. And I think that was the reason why we had success on the court. It's just because, like, when you're out there playing with somebody that you view as like literally your brother, you don't want to let them down, and you'll do anything in the game to avoid letting them down. And I think that was probably my favorite moment outside of the obvious, the games that we won and stuff like that. So,
all right. So JB, captain, is there any doubt in y'all's minds? I know Coach will give me the coach answer, so I'm not even going to ask him. Is there any doubt in y'all's mind? A healthy Joe Chile. Not only do we beat Auburn in the tournament, but we probably mop them up and down the floor.
Auburn knows that. Auburn knows that. We don't. I don't like to talk like that all the time. Just because it's the what if we. And still with that, we had an opportunity to win. I missed free throws. Grant gets fouled. But definitely, I think it's no question. I think Auburn understands that, and if they don't, then that's fine. I mean, they're still ball players at the same time. But when you just look at our team, and honestly, man, that could be God too, because we couldn't have got a more perfect matchup. We couldn't have got a more and in a sense, and this is just, just for this, but we dealt with UNC Wilmington for too long to stress over Auburn. When you really look back at it, we couldn't get over UNC Wilmington. And when you think about it, that team is Auburn plays small ball, and I don't know, man. I think we definitely had their number, but I mean, we lost, so it's all right.
Joe, I know how you kind of view the game and study the game. You know what you can do. I'm sure you were looking at what was little guard they had that you probably would have punished. Yeah, you would have punished him on the block. Just it had to have been tough for you, man, not being able to go be 100%.
Yeah, I think my screen went out. You see, it was that was one of the more frustrating things, man, because obviously. I kind of knew it was bittersweet a little bit, like when we won the championship, because I think it was probably like a little under 3 minutes when I messed up my ankle. And I kind of knew, like, after all the adrenaline had left that like it was gonna be tough, just because like I had sprained my ankle before. You tie your shoe tighter, but it wasn't the case for that one. And you hate to say shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I'll just say this: like I liked us in that tournament. Like if everybody was healthy, man, like just to make a run, because obviously Auburn was a super talented team, and then I think they ended up losing to Clemson, who we had some history with in scrimmaging and that whole nine, and obviously the ties with Coach there. And then even after that, man, like I think Clemson lost to Kansas, and it comes full circle, man. Devontae Graham is on that team, and I'm cool with him now. So like we talk about it a little bit now, but it's just it's interesting, man. Things play out the way they're supposed to play out, but it definitely was it was frustrating, man. One of the more frustrating things that I couldn't play the way I wanted to. So.
Yeah, and one of the most challenging things about that situation is I think leading up into the game, we really didn't know if he was hurt. You know, we had full intentions that he was going to play, kind of like he was a Superman for us at the time. Like he gonna play 25 minutes. He'll be fine when the game starts. And so I think leading into that game, just really expecting him to play and not being prepared for him to be in that type of pain, because there were times in the game he was back in and I just couldn't put him in. Like because I was watching him and I couldn't watch him like that. And so, like Jarrell said, we still had our opportunities to win the game if we had executed a few things or made a free throw or maybe another shot, get one more stop. We still could have won that game. And maybe if we had gotten Joe to another weekend or another game, then those 2 or 3 more days might have got him over the hump to be a little more healthy to help us.
I just knew that, like Coach, you said, like we didn't know. I was hurt, obviously, leading up into the game, but I just knew, like, the day of the game it was going to snap or, like, it was going to go away and everything. But if we had the tip, like, even in warm-ups, I'm sitting there thinking, like, man, like, all right, it's not feeling better yet. And then the tip happened, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm here now. Like, you can't run from me no more. And it was crazy. It was frustrating, man. But it was still. I'm thankful for the experience, man. Because
it's crazy. It's funny that you said, my bad, Joe. But it's funny. Coach Grant said we thought he was our Superman because Joe psyched me out in the middle of the game. He get his first layup in like the second half, and he get fouled. It's the end one. He like, yeah. I'm like, oh, he back. We ready. Let's go. And then you see him like the next possession, he limping, and I'm like, man, I thought we had him.
Yeah, that was funny,
but it was still like with all of that, man, I think it was still special just for all of us to finally get on that stage and be able to show our talents. I know it was tough for Joe, but I think like we worked so hard to get there that still it was more so at a moment that we got to be there with our brothers. I really don't, even though we lost, I don't want it no other way in a sense, just because we got that opportunity, man, and it was special for sure.
And the last thing I'll say, E, to that is, like to Jarrell's point, is like obviously we're bummed out about the loss, but we celebrated, man, like because we kind of knew afterwards. It was like just how far we had come, and it obviously didn't end the way we wanted to, but we was just so thankful, man. Like that was a great time too, man, for the team. Like one of my favorite moments after we lost. Like obviously it was super competitive guys, but took the hour or two, guys cried because the season was over and stuff like that. But we afterwards we all linked that night, and we just kind of stayed up in the hotel room and just talked and then laughed, man, and we celebrated that night, man, just being thankful. So
now both of you guys in the NBA, both of you guys with the big squad. Obviously Jarrell getting ready to head down to Orlando for I guess what's going to be the remainder of the season. What's life like in the NBA for you guys? A little different than, obviously what you experienced here at Charleston, not a Power 5 school, but you guys living the high life now. So let's start up with Jarrell, because I'm sure this is going to be interesting. JB, what's it being in the NBA, especially of all places for you, out there in Utah?
Yeah, man, it's special, man. I think every time I just left the facility today, and just like Charleston, every time I walk in there, it's almost like just naturally, I just thank God. Every time. Same when I went to Charleston. I think it's just one of them things that, man, you work so hard for the opportunity. But I would say definitely NBA is business, and I understand it now. and I'm continuing to work, and continue to, build who I am and stay ready. I think that's the most important thing right now, what I'm trying to do. But it's definitely a special moment just to be around those guys and try to be a sponge and learn as much as I can is special. And I know good things will happen for the both of us because, like Coach says, we're willing to do whatever it takes, and we stay in the gym. And so I'm just in a sense waiting my turn, but staying ready.
If I'm not mistaken, the NBA is going to allow some of the two-way players to be called up as well. So obviously you'll be one of them. Is your buddy Justin Wright Foreman? Will he be with you guys as well?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know the ins and outs. They keep us, kind of distant in the sense from everything that's going on. So still trying to figure it out now, but hopefully it'll all work out for the both of us.
Joe, what about you? Obviously being there in Charlotte, probably the most famous owner in all of NBA basketball. I mean, yeah, let's start with that. Do you ever see Mike just kind of walking around watching practice? What's it like having Michael Jordan as your boss?
It's crazy when you sit down and really think about it, because for me, obviously I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan. He was my favorite player, but in doing history, I recognize Mike as the best basketball player to ever play, right? And so still trying to be professional and have a job to do and all of that, but then taking a step back and realize, just appreciating being around the greatest players is pretty cool. And he's not as hands-on, he's super aware of what goes on, but he tries to keep his distance a little bit. But the few interactions that we do have, man, I'm thankful for him, and I try to ask questions and learn as much as I can. And it's definitely a crazy dynamic when you put it like that. Somebody that I studied my whole life, and now that's your boss, right? So it's how long it lasts, I'm not sure, but while I'm here, man, I'll definitely enjoy it.
Terrell, I guess we need to go ahead and send some congratulations to you, as it was announced earlier today. You came in second for the Rookie of the Year this year. I know you're a little upset.
Well, we can't clap, huh? I'm proud of you.
Trayvon Waters got you again. Of course, we played LSU down in Orlando for the Thanksgiving tournaments. He actually ended up winning. But, I mean, what happened, Jarrell? We were talking before we started taping. I mean, clearly somebody was stealing ballots or something happened. What happened, man? How did you not get the Rookie of the Year?
Man, I don't know, man. I don't have the answers, but I will say Tremont, we got to play him this year, and what he does for their team, with everybody on their team, how he facilitates, still make plays, it's still special, And I think, second, as much as I play and laugh about it, man, I should have been first. Second is cool, and coming from where I'm coming from, it's a lot of guys in that league who people would say were better than me, and I think that just shows a testament to what the work does. And, being a mid-major guy, it's a lot of guys that's high major guys in that league that have to deal with me, So when you think about it like that, it's still special. And honestly, it's just more motivation, So I'll continue to grow. I'll continue to work. And hopefully, I can be doing this in the NBA one day, or, just, continuing to get better is the goal. So we'll see.
And in some sense, you kind of caught a break because I believe up in front of you is out for the season with surgery, correct?
Who's that?
Bojan
Bogdanovic. Yeah. He's injured. So we'll see what happens, man. God willing, everything will go well.
All right. And then for you, Joe, you've been kind of going back and forth between Charlotte and Greensboro as well. How do you feel about your future, either with the Hornets or just in the NBA in general?
Yeah, well, it's a tough time now because obviously we're in uncharted territories with what's going on with COVID and stuff. So it's a little confusion just on what's going to happen after the season finishes up. And obviously we won't be a part of that. But whatever happens, man, I was going to cut real off when he was talking, man. Obviously 1 second, you want to win Rookie of the Year, be first. But just to sing his praises, man, people don't understand how hard it is to have success at the professional level. And I think for kids, right, the dream is always to play in the NBA. You want to play professional basketball. But what I've learned and what I know Rel has learned in his first year is that, like how you said, it's a business, man. And you kind of get away. It's easy to lose sight of the game and the purity of it and just playing basketball because you enjoy the game, because now you're making money for it. And it's a lot of pressure to perform and the whole nine. So for him to go out and have the season that he did, man, under that type of pressure and you being a rookie, just trying to figure it out. Like they don't talk about that side of it, man. It's just you can't speak highly enough of how tough that is just to have any success at professional basketball, no matter the level, let alone at the highest level. So to answer your question with me, we'll see how this plays out with the rest of this season that's resuming with the 22 teams. The schedule will be a little bit different, but once the time comes for me to make the decision on where I'll be next, I'll pray, and I know things will work out the way it's supposed to.
All right, so Joe, you were first, and then Jarrell, obviously this year. What advice, and I'm sure obviously you guys probably talk to Grant often, and you played in the NBA. We think Grant will do the same as well. What are some of the tips, advices that you guys are going to pass along to Grant to kind of help him get prepared? Because, you guys are like the big brothers, and so if you can avoid him making some of the mistakes that you guys made, what are those tips that you guys would give to Grant?
I mean, I think the biggest thing, aside from like we could talk like logistics and business moves and who you should partner with and all that, like outside of that, I think the best advice, like I try to give them, is just to appreciate the moment, man. Because like how we were saying, like I was just saying with Jarrell, like you're talking about every kid who picks up a basketball's dream, right? And a lot of times you get to that point and you let everything, like all the pressure weigh on you, as opposed to just like really taking a step back and reflecting a minute. It's just like, man, regardless of how this thing shakes out, like it's a blessing to even be in this position, right? And I think when you think of, like when you have that perspective, it kind of takes some of that pressure away from you and you can just enjoy the game for what it is, competing at the highest level. And the sooner you can do that, the sooner you'll be able to play the way you're accustomed to playing. And so I think that's the biggest advice I give them, is just to appreciate the moment, like whatever happens in the draft or wherever he ends up, man, it's a blessing to even get to that point. Because there was a time where like you was middle school, high school, man, you was just praying for the next opportunity. Now, 10 years later, you talking about getting drafted, and that's crazy in itself to think about. So just appreciate the moment, man. That's the best advice I could give them.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I me and Grant talk often, and I think just like to what Joe's saying, we can talk about a bunch of different things, but I think just to be truthful, you just got to stay the course, man. And it sounds simple, but those words are hard to act on, And Coach Grant always talks about chopping wood and carrying water, But when you really look back at what it means, I think, and this is what I'll say to all three of us, is we're built to stay the course, even when we feel discouraged. We're built to keep pressing on. When you look at the journey that we've been through, it's special and it speaks on its own. So I think if Grant just, like Joe's saying, embrace every moment and stay the course, sky's the limit for him just as much as us. So, I mean, that's all I can really tell him, because I'm trying to fight it myself.
Yeah. Those are life lessons, man. Those aren't just on the court. Yeah. And I think that applies to everybody. Like, I mean, when we have talks I talk to Cam, he's one of my best friends, and just like whatever your journey is, those two things, man, it's a way to live. Like basketball, a lot of times is it's a microcosm of like life and your experiences in life. And a lot of the lessons you learn on the court, you can apply to real life. So those two things, man, Rel out here dropping life gems, man,
Come on, man. You on mute, big dog.
There you go. Make sure I don't want the background noise. Just watching you guys, man, I mean, it's just refreshing to see, you guys representing yourselves, families, College of Charleston. It's pretty neat. Both of y'all know my daughter, and this was during when the season was still going on. And she was looking through on the Xfinity app, you can hit like C, and it automatically goes to the sports page. So she was like, Dad, what team is Jarrell on? And so I said, the Jazz. She's like, okay. So she kind of scrolled Utah, and you can click on it and you can see the entire roster. And she was, well, they probably won't have Jarrell. And sure enough, lo and behold, there was Jarrell Brantley. Now, no picture, coach. They got to get my man a picture up there. They had the jersey, no picture of Jarrell, his actual face. But, it was just pretty neat. And for her, she immediately took out her picture she had with, you, Jarrell and Joe. And, obviously she goes to school with Coach's son. So they're like the big people on campus because, they know Jarrell Brantley and they know Joe Chile. And, you guys have all nothing but class, just class acts and just representing the college. And we just couldn't be prouder of you guys. It's just one of those situations where not often you see a mid-major have 3 guys potentially in the NBA, and that's what we have at Charleston. And obviously it all starts with Coach Grant. And, I'm sure if you guys had an opportunity to talk to scouts or I should say recruits, you guys could give Coach a pretty good rousing endorsement. And we're just proud of him, proud of the program, and obviously proud of you guys, and just appreciate y'all, man. And we ever can do anything, I know, Jarrell, you need some more gear. I know you're proud of that, Charleston. When we get those guys to send you a T-shirt or 2.
Yeah, man. Anything. Anything.
I'm telling you, in Orlando, it's probably like I give a lot of my gear away. Like I keep a little bit, but if you come to Orlando, it's not far-fetched that you'll run into somebody random with some repping some Charleston.
And basketball. That's how it is in Columbia. Yeah, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So any gear I get, man, I'm trying to get people to rep the college, man, because I'm proud to be a part of what we had going on. Just proud to be a part of the history.
Nice.
No, absolutely. And I'm extremely proud of you guys, man. Just keep up the good work. And I don't know if you know, sometimes maybe when you caught up in what you're doing as a player and just being a good person, you don't really know that you're a role model, but when I talk to kids in this community, whether it be my sons or kids that come to our games or guys who come to camp, what you guys have done for this community and giving people hope that you can make it. Anything is possible from the College of Charleston or, anywhere. But really anything is possible if you put your mind to it. But when you talk about what you're doing, Joe and Jarrell, and we talked about Nick being in law school and Evan being in medical, University of South Carolina, and Cam being in the NBA coaching, like Marquise being a big-time photographer. When you start going down that list of what you can accomplish, it's just amazing and it's inspiring. So all I would tell you guys is continue to pray and play. Okay, find peace, enjoy what you're doing, man. Pray and play, and just enjoy the journey. And because you are doing something that people dream of doing, and I know that you're going to continue to be successful.
I appreciate it, Coach.
Yeah, and one final thing, Jarrell, I got to ask you. Joe, I'm a huge Laker fan. Jarrell, your introduction to the NBA. You check into the game. Friday night, Coach, I don't know if you happen to see it. I was watching.
I saw it.
Coming out like, yes, my boy JB in the game. And who does he have to guard? But King James. Talk about that moment before we let you go, Jarrell, because that's an introduction to the NBA having to guard LeBron.
Yeah, man, that was tough, man. Coach called my name. As soon as I get to the board, the scores table, Coach is like, hey, you got LeBron. I'm like, I just got in here. But he all laughed.
It's your first take.
Yeah, but once you settle in, it was definitely a special moment for me. He went as soon as he seen me, he went straight downhill, got a layup. I probably fouled him. And then the next play, he does his his patent step back that I've watched and I've watched study film on for so many times. So that was super dope to be a part of. But then the other part of it is like I got in, the last 2 minutes of the game. So like for me, it's like this was special. But I want to guard LeBron in the first quarter. I want to guard LeBron in the second quarter. So, those are the things that I'm trying to still work on. But that definitely was a great welcoming to the NBA.
And then for Joe, obviously your first bucket as a Hornet in the NBA. I'm sure that's obviously a memory you'll never forget.
Yeah, it was in TD Garden, right, in Boston. And that was Boston, man. I don't know what's something about it, man. I had a little bit of success. Like we've had success there as a team, and it was just something about there. So I'm excited every chance I get. And then the one thing I do want to say before we get off here, man, I know he's probably going to see it, man. We got to give a shout out to John Eck.
Johnny boy.
And we haven't mentioned him. And just to sing his praise, man. Obviously, he's somebody that doesn't get any of the credit. But you talk about the culture of that championship team, and his grind was a little different. He would always be in there late night. He ain't sleep. He would be in there started at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and he would be in there for an hour every single night. And you just talk about like guys who just helped shape that culture of the program, and he played a part. So I just wanted to make sure
that's crazy. I gotta say
shout
that
him
too.
out.
So I competed with two people when it comes.
Trent, man.
Yeah, all y'all. Yeah, you're right though.
Yeah,
But
like
I
I
competed
say-
with two people when it comes to working out. And it was Joe, of course, and it was John Eck. I would try to beat Joe during the day, work out with him, make sure I'm working out just as much as Joe is, and then John Eck at night. I couldn't beat John Eck. Like I couldn't be in there as much as he was in there, like at night. So just to say those type of guys, we got Maine, we got Trent, and the list is so long. I even love Jalen.
Oh, Tom,
Yeah. It's a lot of guys, man. So I appreciate that whole team. I appreciate every teammate I have at Charleston, from Terrence to James Bourne to, everybody. The list is long. I think everybody helped me become who I am. So, and the coaching staff for sure. So appreciate it.
I think it's
Hey,
safe to
tell
say
John Eck to continue to work on his nonverbal communication, man. he didn't like to talk, so I had to try to get him to do some nonverbals.
He talks now, Coach.
Man.
Well, maybe he learned something when he was there. Okay, he talked now. Okay.
Oh, yeah, maybe you got to him, but he can talk now.
Good.
Well, I think it's safe to say that pretty soon we can expect to see 13 and 5 hanging in the rafters there at TD Arena as two of the greats now representing Charleston as well. And just looking forward to one day, guys. Ideally, maybe either the Jazz or the Hornets or whoever you guys are with will be in Philadelphia, on a Saturday or a Friday night. When we're playing Drexel or playing, Boston, we're playing Northeastern, and be able to bring the guys out to see you guys. But just continued blessings, gentlemen. You guys are doing it big. We appreciate you taking some time joining us right here. Also, Coach, thank you as always. And, I want to thank Cougar Nation for watching another edition of Hanging with the Cougars. And I guess next time we'll have Grant Riller. We'll kind of catch up with him before the NBA draft. And then, of course, after he finds out where he's going, we'll have a final edition with him there as well. So for the captain, Joe Chile, for the big bully, that's Jarrell Brantley, the head coach, Earl Grant, I'm Everett German, and I say thanks for watching Hanging with the Cougars.